I'm in Abuja. Good afternoon, and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and across the world on wadr.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. Benin and the Gambia among 5 African countries elected into the UN Human Rights Council. University teachers in Ghana begin nationwide strike on Thursday in protest of damages caused by illegal mining.
We don't care about what disorganized labor wants to do. We would be the conscience of Ghana. We would defend Ghanaians and we ensure that we will defeat this existential threat that confronts all of us.
And Nigerians yet again grappled another major increment in fuel prices.
Our first buy in the morning is the normal price, 915 naira, 916 naira at the Kubwa side with that. So but now when I come here again, it's 1015 naira.
A Guinean court resumes trial of former president of the National Assembly for embezzlement of public funds. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Abdullahi Hassan with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining us and welcome to our listeners from across the sub-region and beyond. 5 African countries, including 2 from West Africa, were on Wednesday elected into the United Nations Human Rights Council. The Gambia, Benin, Kenya, Ethiopia, and the Democratic Republic of Congo will hence represent the African continent while promoting and protecting human rights worldwide. The election of these African nations follows the international recognition of their respective efforts to guarantee human dignity and strengthen the protection of civil and political rights in their territories. However, human rights in Africa are more than ever before threatened by the growing challenges related to social justice, individual freedoms, and conflict. The Human Rights Council, composed of 47 member states, is responsible for addressing human rights violations and making recommendations to address them. The participation of Benin, the Gambia, and other African countries is to ensure that the continent's voice is heard and, most importantly, guarantee compliance with national and international laws on the protection of fundamental rights. The University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, have begun a nationwide strike to demand action from the government in the fight against illegal mining, popularly known as galamsey. It follows a meeting by the National Executive Council of UTAG, where the decision on whether or not to proceed with industrial action after the leadership of the organized labor pulled the brakes on a planned nationwide industrial action. UTAG is demanding that the government formally announces a nationwide ban on illegal mining and prospecting activities in protected areas, including forest reserves, farmlands, and water bodies. Meanwhile, some environmentalists have expressed disappointment in the decision of the organized labor to suspend its planned nationwide strike. From Accra, Nadiri Tete reports.
After the leadership of organized labor announced the suspension of a planned nationwide strike aimed at mounting pressure on the government to address the illegal mining menace in Ghana, some union members, including the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, expressed disappointment. UTAG has strongly opposed organized labor's decision to suspend the strike. Professor Ransford Jampo, president of the University of Ghana branch of UTAG, commented on the development.
We don't care about what disorganized labor wants to do. We would be the conscience of Ghana. We will defend Ghanaians and we will ensure that we will defeat this existential threat that confronts all of us. If disorganized labor would not want to do it, we will do it.
In response, UTAG members have overwhelmingly voted for an indefinite strike to protest the environmentally damaging activity. In a referendum held by UTAG's National Executive Council, NEC, 77.95% of members supported the strike, with 2,153 out of the 2,762 votes in favor. Only 607 members voted against, while 2 abstained. Following the vote, the NEC invoked its constitutional powers to initiate the strike on October 10. The university teachers are calling for an immediate ban on mining in sensitive areas such as forests, farmlands and water bodies. They are urging government to act swiftly to protect natural resources while labelling this a critical national cause. Meanwhile, some environmentalists have expressed disappointment with organised labour's decision to suspend the nationwide strike. The Executive Director of Eco-Conscious Citizens, OSIWA, shared her thoughts on the matter.
Well, I find it very disappointing. I didn't see it coming. I knew there was a lot of divide and rule going on. Instead of focusing on solving the problem, there was a lot of engagement in divide and rule. But we thought organized labor would stand firm. As it is, the strike has been suspended, even though key demands have not been met.
For WADR, Nadidi Tete, Accra.
In Nigeria, the national oil company has announced another fuel price hike, and people are reeling from the news. This latest increase brings the total price surge to over 500% since President Bola Ahmed Tinubu stopped subsidy payments on May 29, 2023. As expected, transportation and basic necessities have become even more expensive. From Abuja, Usman Umar completes the story.
Motorists are stunned as fuel prices have skyrocketed from between 950 naira and 1,000 naira to 1,100 naira to 1,200 naira per litre, depending on the station. Some people even reported buying fuel at one price in the morning, only to return later to find that the price had increased.
Our first buy in the morning is the normal price, one time 950 naira, 960 naira at the Kubwa side with that. So but now when I come here again, it's 1,050 naira.
I bought yesterday 995 naira. Then now I went to finish to buy. One I saw there is 1,050 naira. Honestly, it's not funny because when the market women, when they heard that the price have increased, definitely the commodity market will go high and to affect the people.
Citizens like Adamu are scratching their heads, wondering why the Dangote refinery hasn't brought the expected relief.
We are looking in paper, they are saying when Dangote refinery starts refining petrol will go down, this and this and this. They are doing it outside country. Now petrol don't come back to Nigeria, they will refine it in this country. Now things are going higher.
Now, Nigerians are calling on the government to step in, worried that life will become even tougher. Many fear this new race will stretch the already strained household budgets to breaking point and worsen the economy. This fuel price evolution has been a wild ride from 6 kobo in 1973 to 617 naira per litre in 2023. The removal of subsidies has played a significant role in these fluctuations. Since President Bola Ahmed Tinubu took office in May 2023, fuel prices have surged from 195 naira to 617 naira and now as high as 1,200 naira. In the end, it has become clear that Nigerians will face tougher times ahead, if not sooner. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
Let's take you to Guinea, where the trial of Amadou Damaro Camara, former president of the National Assembly under Alpha Conde, has been revisited by the court for the repression of economic and financial offences. He is being prosecuted for embezzlement of public funds, illicit enrichment, money laundering, corruption in the public and private sectors, illegal taking of interests, and complicity during his management of the Guinean parliament. The debates were closed and case adjourned until Wednesday, October 16 for submissions and pleadings. Here is more from Cheno Alpha Ibrahima Balde in Conakry and voiced by Christopher Ticho.
The debate before the Crete focused on the production of property titles and the communication of Amadou Damaro Camara's bank statements. As of August 25, 2021, his bank account was credited with 1.5 billion Guinean francs, about $173,850. The judge said, asking him where these funds came from. The former head of National Assembly explained that it was from a sovereignty fund. On the over-the-counter market that Amadou Damaro Camara worked with, the Castor Company, to develop the site that would house the headquarters of the National Assembly in Koloma, the former President of Parliament did not deny it. He said he did it because at the time, Castor was the only company that was willing to pre-finance the work and wait until his institution could return the funds. He also stressed the urgency of building the new assembly. The Chinese partners had given him 60 days at the time to make the site viable at the risk of losing the $40 million he gave to Guinea as part of the construction of headquarters of the National Assembly. He added, On the question of why he did not respect the rules of public procurement, Amadou Jamaro Camara told the judge that the National Assembly is one of the Republican institutions that are not necessarily subject to the rules of public procurement. After hours of questions and answers, the court ordered the closure of the proceedings before adjourning the case to Wednesday, October 16, for submissions and pleadings. As a reminder, Amadou Jamaro Camara is being prosecuted for embezzlement of funds, illicit enrichment, money laundering, and corruption.
A report filed in by WADR's Conakry correspondent Cheno Alpha Ibrahima Balde and voiced by Christopher Aticho.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
As a reminder, we are live on wadr.org and on Facebook, our WADR English service. Now let's bring you more on corruption matters, which takes us to Liberia, because the Minister of Commerce, Amin Modat, has resigned following controversial alleged corruption cases. This is on the back of mounting pressure and demonstrations by civil society groups, opposition and stakeholders over the purchase of a luxury SUV worth over $40,000. This is also amidst the harsh economic challenges coupled with the scandal surrounding the national budget allocation for quality healthcare and education, which has sparked criticisms. From Monrovia, Grace Joshua has more.
The controversy began when it was revealed that Amin Modet has approved the purchase of a luxurious SUV for official use, funded by the Liberia Revenue Authority for its custom capacitive building fund. The SUV, intended for trade-related activities, became a focal point of accusation by Senator Nathaniel F. McGill, who alleged that Amin Modet was misusing his office to acquire personal luxuries, including the said vehicle. Providing clarifications and reason for Modet's resignation, former Commerce Minister Amin Modet's communication to the Office of the President, October 9, stated that over the last few days, there has been a public outcry over a recent purchase of a vehicle for over $45,000. Even though he provided all documentations and facts equivocally demonstrate that there was no malfeasance. He added that beyond this, he is deeply concerned about his integrity and administration, as the issues continue to serve as a distraction for the real national issues. Some expressed disappointment over the government officials' involvement in corruption, as some gave credence to the government in fighting corruption and promoting accountability.
If you do bad, you must go. You do good, you must stay. Comment minister. Now he resigns, but let our comment minister, let's go to court.
When that allegation of corruption started with the LRA and that of the Ministry of Commerce, if the president who have made business to dismiss either Amin Modat or the Double Jala.
These accusations gained traction amidst broader concerns about his link with Medtech Scientific, a continued tracking and inspection company at the Freeport of Monrovia. The Liberia Senate has called for a review of potential termination of Medtech contracts following investigation that reveals serious compliance issues and undisclosed financial agreements.
Grace Joshua with that report. Here in Senegal, a forum on the social well-being of young people concluded on Wednesday in Thiès, a region on the western side of the country. Organized by the NGO Tostan in partnership with the Wellbeing Project, this forum aimed to diagnose the challenges faced by young people in the West African sub-region. As Africa experiences significant political upheavals, forum participants analyzed the impact of economic, political, and social crises on the mental health of young people. This year's theme was From Genesis to Youth, Intergenerational Dialogue on Well-being. Here is a report by Mustafa Jakiti and voiced by Augustine Kole.
Over 100 young people from several African countries gathered to discuss their living conditions. Among them were many Sierra Leoneans who lamented the political instability in their country, with political actors remaining silent. Jita Brima, a Sierra Leonean girls' rights activist, stated that unfulfilled promises are driving hundreds of young people to deviant behaviors.
Political leaders, whenever they said campaign times, election time, they came into our community and said that after you guys vote for us, we'll make sure that your voices can be heard, we'll make sure that we give you scholarships so that those who are going to school, they can return back to school. But after we elected, it's never happened.
Like Sierra Leone, other countries such as Nigeria and Senegal are also facing political economic challenges. Sandran Limari, Osako socialist, recommends assisting young people by emphasizing the responsibility of basic units like the family.
A young
person today in this digitalized society who does not interact with their parents grows up alone, influenced primarily by social media. Consequently, they cannot thrive because they need values and the transmission of those values. Parents are the agents of socialization for children and young adults. In my view, it is crucial to re-establish the connection between parents and children and to make parents aware of their children's well-being. We may not be directly responsible for the difficulties they face, but we can play a significant role in their future well-being.
Several panels were featured at the Forum on Youth Mental Health. Among the topics that garnered attention was exploring intergenerational approaches to youth sexual health.
A report by Mustafa Jakite and voiced by Augustine Kwoli. You are listening to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and online on wadr.org. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Benin and the Gambia among 5 African countries elected into the UN Human Rights Council. University teachers in Ghana begin nationwide strike on Thursday in protest of damages caused by illegal mining. Nigerians yet again grapple with another major increment in fuel prices. A Guinean court resumes trial of former president of the National Assembly for embezzlement of public funds. Still ahead in the news, we have the press review, guest interview, and sports news. Please stay with us.
You are listening to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal.
Glad to know you are still with us. Now, on Wednesday, a tragic incident occurred in the North Bank region of the Gambia, resulting in the death of 7 technicians from the National Water and Electricity Company, NAWEC. The technicians were engaged in wiring operations on utility poles when they were electrocuted. WADR's Sankule Janko Banjul has won this report.
The tragic incident occurred in a village called Keringalo in the North Bank region of the Gambia. Usman Marong is a journalist working with WADR's partner radio station, SO Community Radio. He saw the bodies when they were brought to the SO District Hospital, and he explains the eyewitness accounts.
According to the technicians on the ground was that they were adjusting the new poles and then it touches the high tension wire and the old pole befalls electrocuting them to death.
After visiting the hospital where the deceased were referred, Usman confirmed the death tolls.
The death toll as we speak is 7. There was a total of 8 technicians, but the latter survived, but in a critical condition.
NAWEC has expressed profound sorrow over the loss of its employees, stating that the company is cooperating with local authorities to determine the cause of the incident. Meanwhile, WADR contacted the police for comments on the alleged arrest of the manager of NAWEC Station Bara, but they declined to comment. This is reportedly the most tragic incident in the history of the company. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Sankule Janko reporting from Banjul.
And in news beyond the sub-region, 54 Beninese migrants are held up in Equatorial Guinea for more than 2 months after the boat carrying them got stuck. They were found aboard a shipwrecked boat with other victims of various nationalities on the continental coast in July. The gendarmerie reported a total of 86 migrants, including 54 Beninese, comprising 25 men and 29 women, as well as Togolese, Nigerians, and Burkinabe. According to the survivors' account, they were en route to Gabon when the boat driver abandoned them under the guise of searching for fuel. They said they spent nearly 20 days at sea without food or water, during which some of them lost their lives. Since being rescued by the gendarmerie, the authorities in Bata have been taking care of the migrants with support from the Beninese community in the country. However, the Beninese migrants are now calling on the government back home for assistance as they wish to return home.
This is the Newspaper Review. Stay abreast and find out what the top stories are in your country.
This is the Newspaper Review.
The Newspaper Review.
For today's press review, WADR's Accra correspondent Nadiri Tete brings us to date with developments in Ghana as reported by the national dailies.
Greetings. We'll start off with the Daily Graphic newspaper front page. Organized labor rescinds Galamsey strike. Government acts on concerns. Also here, the church will be a development partner. That's according to the Vice President and flag bearer of the NPP, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Other stories here: ensuring peace on December 7. Prosecute 2020 election killing perpetrators. Emil Short is admonishing government. So the Ghanaian Times newspaper now, front page: illegal mining menace. Government intensifies war on Galamsey. Military and small-scale miners join Operation Halt to fight illegal mining. Also on the front page, small-scale miners plot demonstration against organized labor, and organized labor suspends nationwide Galamsey strike. The final story I have here on the front page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper: Vice President inspects Accra STEM Academy project. Now to the Chronicle, front page: Accra STEM Academy project 85% complete. Also here, Akufo-Addo partners Ghana Armed Forces and small-scale miners to protect river bodies and forest reserves. That'll be it for the Chronicle newspaper. To the Daily Guide newspaper, front page: confusion rocks organized labor, calls off strike. And also here, Nana begins new Galamsey fight, and organized labor doing NDC's bidding. That's according to the New Patriotic Party. And Michael Quay Jr. leads breast cancer campaign. And the final story here: you have proven us wrong. Domahene to Vice President and flag bearer of the NPP, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. The final paper I have here is the Insight newspaper, front page: chief dragged to presidency for allegedly taking bribe to secure 12 million Ghana cedis loan from businessman. And here as well, Akufo-Addo has failed in handling Galamsey crisis, says Professor Ajimandria. And also here, the United States has sent $17.9 billion of arms to Israel since October 7. And that'll be it for what the dailies are reporting today. It's back to you.
Thank you, Una Diritete, for the update.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Environmentalist group Eco-Conscious Citizens Ghana has criticized the government's next action of collaborating with small-scale miners and the armed forces to flush out illegal miners as more people continue to be granted small-scale concession licenses. According to OSIWA, national coordinator of Eco-Conscious, the government over the years has not shown the political will to combat the menace which affects lives and livelihoods. Hence, the recent measure is a ploy to calm down tempers of citizens. It should be noted that Ghana's organized labor on Wednesday backed down their nationwide strike action scheduled for today, Thursday, October 10, following a crunch meeting with the government a day before the exercise.
So when the president said that they've declared forest reserves area and then water bodies as red zones, do you have confidence in that?
Are you going to make sure you remove everybody from our forest reserves and water bodies and then revoke licenses that have already been granted? Because we know that licenses have been granted to mine in forest reserves, including globally significant biodiversity areas. They've been silent on that. So just saying that you are declaring it a red zone area, what does it actually mean? You see, the time for, the time for using words or spin is over. We are facing an existential threat. We are being poisoned to death. We all have to be serious. What stopped them from declaring a state of emergency before today? They would not be having this conversation. What stopped them from sending the forces that they say they have to our forest reserves, clearing all miners from our forest reserves and clearing their equipment from there and also from our water bodies? Why have they have to wait for the eve or 2 days before the date has been given to embark on a general strike before they begin to have a flurry of things they say they are doing with no clear time frame?
What is the way forward that you want to see government do to ending illegal mining?
Start the steps to revoke it and remove everybody who is acting on licenses granted from this perverse piece of legislation. Then begin the restoration of our forest and water bodies, and then have the polluter pays policy, so that all those who are, because the organized labor has asked for swift fast-track courts to deal with the criminals poisoning our water bodies and destroying our forest reserves. When they are prosecuted and found guilty, whatever they have, all the monies they have should be used towards the reclamation exercise. This is putting those involved in illegal mining on notice that all the properties you have acquired, the houses you have built in Ghana or abroad, steps will be taken to get these assets to be used.
Aula Sawa, National Coordinator of Eco-Conscious, an environmentalist group in Ghana. Up next is sports news with Sankule Janko.
Hello there, a warm welcome and thank you for joining us. Ghana are hoping to bounce back from their disappointing campaign as they face Sudan in the must-win game in the Africa Cup of Nations AFCON 2025 qualifiers. The Black Stars will begin the revival of their campaign when they lock horns with Sudan at the Accra Sports Stadium today, Thursday. Ghana are under immense pressure to change their fortunes, having failed to register a win after a home defeat at home to Angola and a 1-1 draw against Nigeria in the qualifiers. Their chances of qualification to the next AFCON depends likely on the double encounter against the Sudanese. Managed by former Ghana coach and star player Kwesi Appiah, Sudan posed a formidable threat to Ghana's chances of qualifying to the tournament set to be played in Morocco. Appiah has done a tremendous job since taking over, winning 5 matches in 6 outings. Their impressive form currently put them top of their World Cup qualifying group that has Senegal and DR Congo. Elsewhere, Sierra Leone will hope to get their 2025 qualifying campaign on track when they take on reigning African champions Cote d'Ivoire. The Leone Stars will take on Elephants of Ivory Coast on Friday at the Stade Laurent Pokou in San Pedro. Sierra Leone is seeking their first win of the road to AFCON 2025. A defeat for the Leone Stars could harm their chances of qualification. Meanwhile, Ivory Coast international Amad Diallo has reportedly withdrawn from the Cote d'Ivoire squad ahead of their encounter with Sierra Leone. The Manchester United forward will miss the doubleheader against the Leone Stars due to illness, the Premier League club said on Wednesday. The 22-year-old recently returned to the national team folds, having been previously left out by coach Emas Foy. Diallo will miss the doubleheader against Sierra Leone on Friday and Tuesday. And that's it for sports. It's back to you.
And that's how we end this edition of Newslink right here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Christian Mukidi and Maudu Jufa for the technical assistance. Do interact with us via social media platforms X, Instagram at WADR News, on Facebook, WADR English Service, and stream live on WADR.org. Coming up at the bottom of the hour is our flagship environment program, Enviroscope, focusing on the potential of cotton farming. And the Suli Jeju comes live at 1 p.m. with the second edition of our news in French Info Chez Vous. I am Abdullahi Hassan. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening